I know everybody up in New England is certainly in the middle of a transition era.
Of course.
There was another article released this morning about Bill Belichick and the Krafts and the future and what happened maybe down in Atlanta, why Bill didn't get the job. At Boston Connor, definitely a little spicy. At Boston Connor, massive Patriot fan. You read through the entire article. What was this? How is this? And how did you come away from the entire thing?
So it's from Wickersham and Jeremy Fowler. It was also put together by, I don't want to get this wrong, Dahn Van Natta Jr.
It's a great name.
Very long article. It goes very in depth about the hiring process of Bill and kind of how he was, how he missed out on a head coaching job. There are a bunch of stuff in there that kind of didn't really make sense. One thing that has been coming out, the biggest thing kind of I would say, is that everyone is talking about how Robert Kraft basically told Arthur Blank, don't hire this guy. Okay, you do not do it. You can't trust him in that whole entire narrative between Bob and Bill, which has been going on forever. All the way, with the dynasty coming out and now this article coming out, it is kind of just another burial, but it is kind of hammering home the fact that Bob and Bill clearly were butting heads at the end, if not the entire time. But in the article, they
20-some years together at some point. It's just like whenever Tom and Bill, there was allegedly, I think it's like, marriage, 20 years. Mm-hmm. Think about any relationship for 20 years. Friendship, business, anything for 20 years, a long time. You are going to realize everything about the other person. Mm-hmm. So you see everything about the other person, not just potentially the good. You also find out about the bad. There's maybe some deep situations that take place that were never really fully got over. And then 2 decades is a long time doing work together. Yeah. But it does feel like this Bill-Bob one is a lot different than the Bill-Tom one. Because the Bill-Tom one, there was a lot of chatter. And then Tom and Bill both were like, I don't know anything about that.
I love each other.
In this one, there's a full documentary.
Yes.
That the Krafts are involved in, and their money's behind, and they're speaking in the way that it painted. It's like, this one feels a lot realer than the Bill-Tom one, but I think we can all understand after 20-plus years of success in the biggest league in the earth, on earth, with billions of dollars at play and egos and legacies and everything, you could see how it could happen. But this one feels realer than any of the things that we heard early, which all end up being bullshit with the Bill and Tom stuff.
Yeah, no doubt. Like when Tom talks about Bill, there are plenty of clips where he gets emotional, he starts crying, talking about what Belichick has done for him and everything like that. And obviously, I'm not going to say Robert Kraft hates Bill Belichick. Like, that is such a broad statement. And like you just laid out, for that many years, the amount of success that they've had, you can't hate somebody when they helped grow your business into what it is today. But some of the things from it, just clear bullshit.
Did you take notes?
I did write down some things just because I wanted to. I didn't want to misquote.
I love this.
He had notes yesterday in his brain about pandas. For a few years now, it's been about the birds. Now he got actually handwritten notes next to him because I want to make sure I get this right from an article doing its reporting.
Mm-hmm. And just real quick, the pandas, no notes in my brain. That was just a quick little thing that happened. But again, we're on football. So with the Belichick thing, just him specifically with the job, like they said that Bill was blindsided that he didn't get the job. I feel like that's kind of hard to believe.
It's the Falcons job?
This is the Falcons job, yeah. That because, if they were looking at 14 candidates, one of those guys was a former interim head coach in Atlanta who's been in Atlanta, who Arthur Blank knows. So, and we talked to Raheem Morris, like, if you were to sit down with that guy, it would be hard not to be like, I'd run through a wall. Like, that is our head coach.
Him.
Morris.
Yeah.
Boom.
Awesome.
So like that aspect of it being blindsided, who knows? That is something that Bill will have to come out and say maybe he was. Hard to believe that a guy that's been in the NFL since 1975 would be blindsided by anything. But again, that is one of the things. The other thing that they mentioned, and this wasn't in quotes or anything, they just said in a sentence, Belichick wasn't eager to work with Rich McKay. I guess, sure, maybe that could be true. But if they're just putting out bland statements like that and people
just guessing how somebody feels.
Yeah, he wasn't eager. We can say that because he probably wasn't eager to work with anybody. Things like that are annoying, and let alone throughout the entire article, Michael Lombardi is quoted over and over, and he goes on and on about how much, him and Bill and what Bill's looking for, and also, who Bill is as a person, basically. None of the quotes, they don't really say where they're from. I'm pretty sure 90% of the quotes that he talked about were from this show. This is an ESPN article we're talking about, so interesting that they wouldn't reference an ESPN show. But again, that is pure speculation. That is all speculation from me, which they probably could have thrown in that article a couple times if it was speculation.
Well, if they're burying Bill, I'm happy we're not a part of it.
Yeah, amen. Amen. Yeah, and I'm glad we're talking about it, because there are things, if you were just read through that as someone who doesn't follow the NFL every day, if you were to read through that, you could just be like, oh, okay, so Bill hates the Atlanta Falcons, and he was devastated by the fact that he wasn't head coach. Again, who knows if that part's true. The Bob Kraft stuff specifically. So Arthur Blank, he checked his references before, making a decision or whatever, and I assume that's how every single team does it. They reference right away. One of his references was Bob Kraft's son, Jonathan Kraft, which if we've learned anything about, Jonathan and Bill's relationship, at least from just consuming the dynasty and what has happened since Bill has left the Patriots. I don't know if that is the most biased or unbiased, non-biased. There it is. Who knows? I don't know those words. I'm
not sure. Around a lot. And people who act like they're normally very biased.
Yeah, so which makes you think bias might be the one that's like, hey, I'm just walking the fence.
But you might get the most amount of truth whenever somebody just at least pledges their biases.
Bingo.
As opposed to acting as if non-biased.
Yes.
But then picking and choosing what's said and what isn't said. Well, what he says is the truth, yeah, but what he withheld also true, and then kind of paints a narrative. So, we're in that time right now.
Yes, we are.
Everywhere.
True, and to be clear, I am biased towards Bill Belichick. So, here we are, and I'm, just.
What do you mean?
Yeah, you got that too.
Come on, baby. But the Bob Kraft thing.
We're on to Cincinnati.
We're on to Cincinnati, mother. But the Bob Kraft thing that does kind of give the reports a little bit of credibility is he mentions in there like, hey, in January when I talked with Arthur Blank, I didn't say a bad word about Bill. Like the things that they are claiming that he said in January, the meeting after Bill is gone from New England. This is when he is interviewing down there. He was like, no, I didn't say anything bad about Bill in January. Now, anytime before January, I don't know if I said anything bad about Bill to Arthur before January. So that is
remember there was reports of Kraft coming out of an elevator,
bingo,
and saying, "I got to go work with the biggest asshole in my life."
Right, exactly.
And they're like, he was talking about Bill Belichick as he walked out of that elevator. So what does that mean about the relationship between the owner, the GM, and the head coach? It's obviously splintering. And then there was rumors about what Kraft wanted to do with the roster, what Bill wanted to do with the roster. So this has kind of been bubbling and bubbling and bubbling. Feels like not a bad time. Middle of offseason, not a lot of shit going on in the NFL. Draft about a week away.
Yeah.
There is some maybe new mock drafts coming out that we certainly will keep an eye on and everything like that. But not a bad thing. Just go ahead and know that the entire world is certainly interested in how this relationship went. And then it sounds like it's a lot of alluding to or potentially anonymous quotes and things like that.
Yeah, some anonymous Belichick's, source close to Belichick, source close to Kraft, source close to Blank. A lot of that. You've mentioned the asshole comment, Bob walking off the elevator. Do you remember who wrote that book?
Oh, that was Wickersham.
That was Wickersham. Okay, so funny enough, maybe there is bias on one side. Again, this is just pure speculation, and I am saying that is pure speculation because instead of just writing it in an article, I will add on the end of my sentence, hey, that's pure speculation. Maybe that is something that he is pulling from the earlier draft of his story. But the whole thing, obviously something happened, between Bob and Bill. That is clear. Like everyone knows that. When it comes to this situation specifically, it would make more sense just from reading the article that maybe Blank did go back to some of the conversations Kraft and him had, in the past about Bill. But like the idea that Bob Kraft called up Arthur Blank and was like, hey, if you hire this asshole, you guys are screwed for the next 10 years. You're going to ruin your entire building. So like that exact thing, very hard to believe, but the previous conversations you could see coming into effect there with the Bill hiring. But again, Raheem Morris, like this,
we still don't know. I guess we're just going to continue to read more stuff about the two, and if we ever get a chance, hopefully, to get to the bottom of it, we will. But how is there a bottom of 24 years worth of relationship?
Yes.
You can write about anything throughout those 24 years. I assume there's some stories to be told about Ricky Ross performing at the New England Patriots Super Bowl party afterwards, and I assume there's a moment where Bill was flashing those rings, and Kraft was he's doing a full. There had to be a lot of those as well. Happy to hear that hopefully they'll both kind of move on in separate directions, but it continues to kind of linger. And I know Patriots fans have gone from being excited about moving forward to being like, why are we doing this to Bill?
Right? Oh yeah,
that's kind of what that's how New England Patriots fans are feeling as a majority, not everybody, but a majority.
Yeah, and it was just in New England this past weekend. That still holds true with a lot of people where it's like, hey, why did they do this? And a lot of people still extremely frustrated with the Kraft family as a whole. A lot more Jonathan than Bob, though, just to be clear.
And it's documentary based.
And it starts with the documentary, absolutely.
Yeah,
and all
there's
this
no
other
reason to
stuff.
put out this wicked, stupid doc at the moment in which you're doing it.
I heard that sentence 4 or 5 times.
We could do this 10 years from, like right now, it's just not, that was just too much.
Stupid. Like, we talk about it with, Jordan in The Last Dance. Like, Jordan waited all that time, and when did he release it? Kind of when LeBron passed Jordan, like when that situation happened. And so, like, as a Patriots fan, I would have liked to see, let's see how this Chiefs thing ends first before we remind people who the first Chiefs were. Like, that's how I think New England Patriots fans would have liked to see that go.
Pac-Man, as a person that had to play in the era of the New England Patriots during that time, I did as well. I think my perspective is one of, like, just awe and respect that they were able to win for that long. It is so hard to win in the NFL. Yeah. The amount of personalities that you have to wrangle and keep in one direction, the amount of fortune that you have to kind of experience with injuries and everything. And even if they did have injuries, they were able to still keep going where everybody else would go. I would like to remember those New England Patriots, not by these documentaries, or sham books and articles, but by the greatness that they put on for 20 plus years. There's always going to be asterisks on everything. Right? They certainly have theirs. The Chiefs are going to find theirs, too. If the Chiefs continue to go, people are going to find they got to be cheating.
For sure.
There's got to be something going on different over there than everybody else. How are we spending billions and making billions, and they're beating everybody every single year? But that Patriots team, what they had for 24 years was special. We just need to remember it that way. Don't you think, Pat?
Oh yeah, we do need to remember that way. I think he got, 14 rings probably in total with all of the Super Bowls and the championships. A lot of respect for what they did. Special teams was really big when it came to the Patriots. Yes. They won a lot of games
till the end.
As an all-pro returner and as a guy who kicked and punted or whatever, it's like anytime you take on the Patriots, it's like they're going to be so sound.
Damn it.
And so disciplined. And they're going to expose you, especially if you try a fake punt. Where everybody's moving, and then there's only a center and a quarterback. And the center's from Stanford, the quarterback's from Montana. Both of them absolute dogs, but in that particular case, certainly outnumbered.
No doubt.
And the Patriots get the ball, laugh in our face, and that's another Bill Belichick moment where he's smarter than everybody.
Yeah,
this guy's playing chess, not checkers. It's like to try to act as if Bill wasn't, and this is coming from a biased perspective because I've been in a building and been lucky to watch a lot because of the position that I had. I was able to watch a lot. To be able to keep every training room, equipment room, and obviously they're a part of this entire conversation as well. Front office, scouts, like everybody going, coaches, everybody going the same way for that long without being a distraction enough to ruin it. It's like impossible to do.
Yeah.
So congrats to the Patriots. You guys will get it again.
Well,
you guys will get it
just
again.
need one more.